You know, algebra was never even really a study in mathematics until much later. They only developed algebra as a way to do then some of the harder topics like geometry and trigonometry and calculus. Algebra is just a language that we use in order to do these other pieces. Now, there is more in-depth study into algebra. I don't want to take away from it because it is really cool at the higher levels. But everything we've learned in algebra so far really just has to do with being able to apply to trig, geometry, and calc. That's it. So this is the fun stuff we want to get to. So, hyperbolas, the set of all points whose distance from two foci have a constant difference. How is that different from ellipses? Yes, exactly. Ellipses had a constant sum. Now, it's a constant difference. And I'll outline what that means in a little bit, okay? So, they have two distinct equations that look very similar to our ellipses. X minus h quantity squared over a squared, and y minus k quantity squared over b squared is equal to 1, but instead of a plus, we got a minus. It's the only difference. Swell. Every time somebody says swell, I think of the movie Willy Wonka, the Chocolate Factory, where Veruca, what is that her name? Veruca Salt? What's the name of a whatever? And she eats the blueberry stuff, and she swells up in a big blueberry, and they got to roll her out. Swell. Think about it. Okay, next one. Y minus k quantity squared over a squared minus x minus h quantity squared over b squared is equal to 1. The first one is horizontal. The second one is vertical. I want you to tell me what is the difference between the horizontal and vertical hyperbola equations. Excellent. What thing they're in? Please be more specific in what you're stating. Okay. Oh, I get it. You're actually thinking about the graph. Look at the equation. What's different with the equations? Okay. Now, here's the difference. This this is the mistake that people make. Understand me right away here. It doesn't matter which one is bigger, A or B. So if it doesn't matter which one's bigger, A or B, then what is the chief difference between the equations? Whether X is positive or negative. So you can see X is positive, horizontal. X is negative, and Y is positive, vertical. See that? Whatever is positive will determine the direction. If the center is HK, we'll put it right at 0, 0. We need to figure out how to sketch these things. So I plot A and negative A. How many units do you think I go in the Y direction? B units in the Y direction. Once I plot those four, I use them to sketch my box. That box will be used to generate the shape of the hyperbola. The reason why I like to sketch the box is because there's some important parts of the hyperbola that travel through the box. Number one, the asymptotes go through the corners of the box. Does this hyperbola open up horizontal or vertical? If x is positive, it opens up horizontal. So here's what will happen. If it opens up horizontal, then it's on the sides of the box that the vertices are located. If the center was 0, 0, what's the location of those vertices? Plus or minus a 0. Suppose that the center is hk. Will this affect the h value or the k value? H. So it'll be h plus or minus a k. The length of the transverse axis is the distance between the vertices. What's the distance between the vertices? 2a. The asymptotes are the imaginary lines that the graph approaches but never touches. It does go through the vertices. And so the graph looks like this. This is the shape of a hyperbola. It has a curve, goes through the vertices, and it heads off towards the asymptotes. So I believe that sketching the box is the appropriate way to help you set it up so that you do it accurately. It also helps me when I try to grade your test to see that you had intentions on sketching it that way. Otherwise, better hope your graph is neat. Asymptotes are lines. The equation for a line is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. A for the day. What point will the asymptotes always go through? What if the center is not 0, 0? They will always go through HK, right? And if H and K are 0, they'll be 0, 0. But they'll always go through the center. So yes, 0, 0 or HK, the center. So my point is HK, that's on the line. In order to write an equation for a line, I need the point, and what else do I need? Slope. Let's do it. Let's look at the slope. Slope is rise over run. I just look at my box. What is the rise of my box? B, what's my run? A. So it's positive or it's negative, B over A. So now I could write my equation for my line. It will be y minus k is equal to plus or minus b over a times x minus h. Beautiful. The foci are located C units from the center. C units from the center. So if the center was 0, 0, what would be the location of the foci? Yep, plus or minus C, 0. And would that affect the H value of the center or the K value of the center? H. So H plus or minus C, K. So if the center is 0, 0, that would be it. Otherwise, that would be it. That's a horizontal one. Got the pieces together? Okay, let's move on to a vertical one, and then we'll do 3 examples where we sketch the graph. So, in this situation, I plot my center, HK. How many units do I go in the y direction? Look at your equation. A units in the y direction. So mark A and negative A. How many units in the x direction? Make my box. Tanner Bell Richard didn't like a box, so he calls it a rectangle. I don't really care. I can draw my asymptotes right through the corners and through the middle. Hey, go away. Okay. Are the vertices going to sit on the top and bottom or on the left and right? Why? Because y is positive. Very good. So it's going to sit at the top and bottom. So what's the location of my vertices if it's centered at 0, 0? Good. Does that affect the h value or the k value? What is the length of my transverse axis? I can sketch my graph. Beautiful. Asymptotes. Y minus k is equal to x minus h. And we've got to put in a slope. What's different about the slope this time? One line's positive, the other one's negative. A over B. Foci, C units. Plot them. Okay, so if it was 0, 0, then the center would be what? I'm sorry, center, not, the foci. Yep, 0 plus or minus C. And if it was shifted, that would change which value? K value. So we have H and K plus or minus C. Awesome sauce. You guys got it. Got all the notes. Now it's time to put it into action, right? You ready? Let's do it. Let's graph these. Example 1. We're going to do direction, center, vertices, length of transverse axis, foci, asymptotes. Thank you. So the first one, what's the direction? Why is it horizontal? Yes, so that's why I put this problem right here. Why would we maybe think it was vertical? Because that's what we did yesterday, right? But it doesn't matter with hyperbolas. It doesn't matter which one's bigger. What matters is which one is positive. X is positive, so it will open up horizontally. Center. 0, 0. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Mr. Kansas. All right. So 0, 0, center. How many units in the y direction? 5. How many units in the x direction? 2. Do my asymptotes. Okay, Kelsey Anger. Let's do whatever you want to do. Nap time. All right, so we got some asymptotes going on. We got a box going on. Looks like I should do some vertices. Are the vertices located on the top and bottom or the left and right? Left and right, because it opens up horizontally. So the location of those will be plus or minus 2, 0. So what is the length of the transverse axis? 4. Can I draw the shape? Yeah, is it going to be really wide or really narrow? Really wide. That's just the way it is. We like it. It's kind of like a contact lens. You know, you've seen your lenses before, right? Got nice shape. Fit right on. That's right. They don't get what I'm saying. They don't get the jokes. They just think I'm weird. Okay. Foci. Well, let's do the equation for the asymptotes first. I got y minus k. What's k? 0. So you just got y equals, and then what's x minus h? 0. So well, x. So we've got x. So all we have is the slope. What's the slope? Slope of these bad boys. Yeah, what's b divided by a? Just look at your box. It's up 5 and over 2. Again, another reason to make the box. We got plus minus 5 halves x. It's not plus or minus 5 over 2x. The x can go on the side or it can go up top. It can't go on the bottom. Illegal. Foci. Oh, we didn't talk about that. You guys never asked how to find c. It's not a squared minus b squared is c squared. It's a squared plus b squared is c squared. Now, think about that, because yesterday we did this, and we said which one has to be bigger, the a or the b. A, otherwise you get a negative number. Does it matter here? That's why it doesn't matter which one's positive or bigger or smaller, okay? So let's add them together. A squared plus b squared is 29. So we got square root of 29. Will it be in the x direction or the y direction? X direction. So it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. So square root of 29 is like 5 and a half, so it's way out here. So that would be plus or minus the root of 29, 0. Yes. Like it? A little bit more difficult than ellipses? Easier than parabolas? Yeah, that's okay. All right. All right. You like parabolas more. All right. Well, it's free country. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, so the asymptote, because the center is at 0, 0, that's what we got. Okay, you ready for the next one? Can I erase? So I know for Darren it's fine. If it's a little too loud for Claire, just raise your hand. Say, could you tone it down a little? Okay, thank you. I'm getting better. This one, we divide by 36. X squared over 9 minus y squared over 4 is equal to 1. You tell me, is this vertical or horizontal? Why? Yeah. So notice the difference. You may say, well, Mr. Gens, why don't you put a vertical one on there? We'll do one in a little bit, but I wanted you to see that even though the bigger number is under x in this situation, and it's not under this situation, they both have the same direction, okay? See that? X squared over 4, here's x squared over 9. Both are horizontal because the x is positive. What's the center for this one? 0, 0. And so I'm going to plot that. How many units will I stretch in the x direction? How many in the y direction? So I'm going to put down 4 tick marks. Some of you guys in your assignments can afford to make a little bit bigger tick marks. I'll try to, otherwise it just all kind of gets blobbed together. So I'm going to go 3 in the x, 2 in the y, and I'm going to make a little box here for a Tanner rectangle. I'm going to draw my asymptotes because that's what Kelsey would do. And now I can plot my vertices. Well, the vertices go on the top and bottom or the left and right? The left and right because it opens up horizontally. So the location those vertices are plus or minus 3, 0. Length of the transverse axis is the distance between the two vertices, which is 6. The asymptotes, still centered at 0, 0, so you don't have an h or k value, so it's just y equals plus or minus something times x. What is the slope? Look at your box. Up 2 and over 3. And now I find the foci. I take a squared plus b squared, or a squared minus b squared. Which one is it? Plus, so I get square root of 13. So c is the square root of 13, a 10 dog. So I go, I don't know, like 3.7, whatever that is, units in the horizontal direction. Plot my foci. And so that would affect the x value plus or minus the square root of 13, 0. And I should really make my graph. So the last one was wide. This one's much more narrow. That's just the way it is. Not too bad, huh? One more example. Flip it over. We're going to cross that off, cross that stuff off. We're going to go to there we go. Y plus 2 quantity squared minus 2 times x minus 1 quantity squared equals 18. We're going to make it. Yep. Direction, center, vertices, like the transverse axis, asymptotes, and foci, and I got a graph. What do I have to do first? Divide by 18. So y plus 2 quantity squared over 18 minus x minus 1 quantity squared over 9 is equal to 1. Direction, up, down, right, or left? Up and down. Why is it up and down? Y is positive. Center. Is it 1, negative 2, or is it negative 2, 1? 1, negative 2, because the horizontal shift is 1, the vertical shift is negative 2. Nice job for catching that. Yeah. All right. So it's stretched in the y direction, the square root of 18, which is a little bit more than 4, right? So if I go up 4 from here, I'll be at 2. If I go down 4, I'd be at negative 6. So if I make an 8 by 8 graph, that'll be enough, right? So I can make an 8 by 8. Okay, so the center is 1, negative 2. How many units do I go in the x direction? 3. How many units do I go in the y direction? Square root of 18, which is about 4.2. Make my box. kind of a sloppy box, but oh well. Okay, so the vertices, are they going to go on the top and bottom, or are they going to go on the left and right? They're going to go on the top and bottom. And so will that affect the h value of my vertex, or the h value of my center, or the y value of my center? Y value. So I still have 1, but then I'll have -2 plus or minus the root of 18. So I'm going to write the root of 18 as 3 roots of 2. So you could write it as a decimal, as 2 points, or you could write 1 point on simplest radical form like that. If you want to write just -2 plus or minus 4.24, that's fine too. Like the transverse axis is the distance between these two. So what's twice 3 roots of 2? 6 roots of 2. If instead you would like to write 8.48, that's fine. Draw the asymptotes. Looks like I can actually sketch the graph if I want. We're almost done. Y minus, what's the y value of the vertex? -2, right? So it'll be a y plus 2 is equal to x minus, what's the x value of the vertex? 1. I'm saying vertex, I mean center, I'm sorry. Sorry. And then plus or minus the slope. Look at your box. What is our rise? 4.24 or 3 roots of 2 over what is our run? 3 root of 2. Because we went from 1 over to 4. Went from 1 back to -2. And to find the foci, what's my equation? So 18 plus 9 is c squared. It's 18 plus 9. 27 is equal to c squared, or 3 roots of 3. That will affect the y value, so 1, and then -2 plus or minus 3 roots of 3. And you can plot those as you want to. Your assignment is right here, folks. Good job getting through material. You've covered all 3 conics, well, 4 including circles that we need to know. Good job. We'll get a work day in here someday, and I'll get you your study guide soon as well. We'll test next week. I'll let you know for sure whether it be Thursday or Friday. Really depends on how tomorrow's lesson goes, okay? All right, have a good one.